People who got caught having sex at work. What happened? This was back in 2013. I was in the US Army working as a supply specialist, so I had keys to everything. Female co-worker and I would frick everywhere. Storage rooms, offices, empty barracks rooms. Went on for months. One day our platoon sergeant pulled us aside and tells us he knows what's been going on. Says he saw us in one of our large warehouse areas. He said as long as it never happened again, he wouldn't make a big deal of it. He kept his word. Good dude. Worked at Wendy's when I was a teenager. Just me at the register, the manager and another girl in her early 20s at the drive-thru. Another guy in his 20s was on the grill and an older woman at the sandwich station, who I chatted with often. It's almost closing time. The manager is in the office doing whatever it is they do. Woman at sandwiches starts doing dishes and the other two are outside taking a quick smoke break. So I start cleaning up the dining area and take the trash out to the dumpster. The dumpsters are enclosed around a fenced gate to keep pests and animals out. As I approached the dumpster, I heard someone whisper shh followed by a quiet what. I am now aware these two people are not actually smoking and probably doing something my 16-year-old eyes don't wanna see, especially since it's my co-workers. So I stand there for a moment figuring out what to do, as I'm tired and ready to go home. Then without a second thought, I heave the trash bag over the gate and yell out throw the trash and dumpster for me when y'all are done. I walk back inside to finish cleaning up. The two lovebirds walk in about 5 minutes later and do whatever they can to avoid eye contact with me. As I'm heading to my truck, I check the dumpsters to see if they threw the bag in the bin. To my surprise, they actually did. They were a married couple but both employees. They got caught screwing at the Christmas party. Nothing happened for a few weeks. Then they both got fired because they were collecting the gym membership stipend but couldn't show proof of attendance. Pretty sure that was the first and only time the company enforced the stipend rule. Based on what we all saw at the Christmas party, both haven't been hitting the gym as often as you say you are. At my old job in a sheet metal factory we caught two elderly employees having sex in the back of his Suburban. We'd long suspected it because they went from being extremely close to kinda trying not to be seen talking that much. Also because it was a job that had unlimited OT. They'd both show up at the same time and leave at the same time even though we didn't have set hours. It was wild because both his son and her sons worked for the same company. His wife would show up and bring food for the whole staff in our department too and you could see the mistress's guilt whenever his wife was there because she'd always leave. After we caught them, we kept our mouths shut about it but they both starting being really nice to us all. The woman would bring us all lunch every day. YAA free lunch. There was a girl who had sex with some employees for pay. When caught, they transferred her to another building and took some minor disciplinary action against all involved. Then she did it again at the new building, so they transferred her back. Couple years had passed, so no old clients in her area. Then she did it again. Third time was the final straw to get her fired. This woman was taking home a 2 days paycheck for 1 day worth of work. I worked with a guy at my previous job who was a night security guard for the main facility. Very smart guy but had tons of self-destructive behavior when he was doing well. He was caught on camera entering an office with a night janitor and she confessed that they had been having sex at work. When confronted, he admitted to having sex with her and they said that he would be terminated. He agreed but first asked them to show him where it explicitly said in the company policy that having sex on company grounds was prohibited. He had already reviewed the company policy and knew he had a claim of potential wrongful termination and they did as well. Soon after we had an updated corporate policy release with some clarification on what was considered appropriate work behavior. The guy actually stayed with the company for years and went on to work in manufacturing where he was terminated for more self-destructive behavior. The freaking Chad pulled a George Costanza and won. I work in our government office. Our boss got caught having sex with his private secretary. Boss stepped down and PS suspended for 6 months. Same here. Married, Mo was doing his secretary. I said something about it to my superior because it was affecting my job. Secretary cancelled meetings to be alone with him. My contract got terminated for other reasons, and they transferred the secretary while sweeping everything under the rug as if nothing happened. F that place. Back in 2010, my high school basketball coach got caught having sex with a very pregnant teacher in the hospitality room of the school. I mean very pregnant lol. And both of them were married. Very sad. Haha. Basketball couch. Boss was caught screwing 5 different women at the hotel I worked at. He was fired, with a long investigation. Sure explained why the dude was always late leaving. Had to catch up for how much fricking he did. I was caught by my boss's boss, going at it with my boss. He threw his binder down on the ground to get our attention. Then he left and we broke apart, then just finished the shift. I was so sure we were both going to get fired. I was a nervous wreck the whole day. In the end, he decided to not tell anyone and not to fire us. He just asked me if it was consensual, which it was, and lectured me on how inappropriate that was. Obviously I agree. He also said he wished us a happy relationship lol. Scariest and most awkward day at work of my life. Never again. I see the supervisor sometimes and I know it's obviously something we'll both never forget. Dang, what a dude. Making sure you were not being taken advantage of, and letting you off with a binder drop. Respect. I used to work at a high-end restaurant for a few years, so I got a few stories. For instance, one time after closing up shop we were getting ready to go home when I heard a noise in one of the broom closets. Found 2 customers fricking in it after we'd closed down. Another time I walked into our walk-in freezer after we'd mostly closed to do a quick inventory only to find one of the waitresses getting frickin' plowed by one of the other chefs. I laughed and said, "Don't let me interrupt, I'm just counting inventory." Another time one of our corporate chefs got fired for jerking off in the manager's office. That was pretty neat. But the best one by far has to be the time we were closing up shop and this waitress and cook kinda had a little thing going on and the whole kitchen staff knew about it. So one day we saw them walk into our outdoor cooler and shut the door behind them. Someone mentioned it to me and naturally I told everyone still there. We all waited outside the door and listened to see if we could hear frickin' sounds. We did. So when they finished they walked out only to be greeted by the entire closing staff shouting fricking finally. Oh, they were so embarrassed, it was great. Got caught by my brother plowing a coworker in the back of our family-owned restaurant. He played it cool for a few years until we were talking about it at lunch and I casually mentioned I know he caught us. That was the day I found out he was doing the same thing with the same girl. Our family-owned restaurant. Plowing a coworker. HMMMMMM. I used to work at the county jail and we hired a new officer that worked the cage. The cage control room is semi-private and has control of unlocking doors so no one can walk in without the cage operator pushing a button. She was in an open marriage and put out for just about anyone. She got caught when 8 officers got the clap. A few spouses, who got the clap from their cheating husbands, complained to the sheriff and she was fired. Demotions, suspension and firings of other male officers followed after an internal investigation. Not me, but my ex-boss snorted coke in our bathroom before sucking off a customer in our parking lot. Came back in and boasted to us that she got free weed from this guy. A week later, fired. She's still engaged to her fiance, not the customer. SMH can't believe a bussiness would fire an employee so devoted to customer satisfaction. I never have, but I can tell you that entire company-wide design decisions have been made for Amazon fulfillment centers to help curb such actions. For example, all janitor closets are required to have half-glass doors. Worked for Amazon UK, caught one of the reps having a threesome on the top floor of the tower with 2 blokes. Caught a security guard having sex in his car with another worker. Found a used silicone butt and vagina sex toy in the bathroom absolutely soaked in jizz. Worked there like 3 months. My math teacher, M, got caught having sex with my English teacher, F, on the school printer in the conference room. He got the name Printer Sucker. I plant trees for a living and hire over 30 20-somethings and send them into remote areas for days at a time. Often I set up trail cameras to track progress and get cool time-lapse shots and also wildlife pics. On more than a few occasions I've seen photos of staff walking off together and one glorious BJ shot perfectly framed. I delete the photos and don't make a big deal of it. If it doesn't impact their tree numbers I just consider them on break. Most of the time they are paid per tree planted, so it's up to them how much time they want to plant versus frick. Worked retail in college. We were in the stock room, clothes mostly still on, when the shift manager came in. Had her up against some fitted shirts. Me and her were written up and sent home. They interviewed us separately the next day. We lied about not having a relationship so they wouldn't transfer one of us. Looking back, I'm actually pretty surprised we weren't fired. This right here. This is why you wash new clothes before you wear them. Coworker and manager got caught. He got transferred and she started hitting on me and everyone else. It was awkward, but they were both adults. She's thirsty ick. Not me, but two co-workers at a small family restaurant got caught having sex in the bathroom when the owner literally opened the door on them because they didn't lock it. The girl was bent over the sink and they were watching themselves in the mirror. He slammed the door shut, and when they came out a few minutes later, panicky and shamefaced, he yelled at them, "If you're gonna do that, you clock out first," while the rest of us laughed our asses off. Small family restaurant. Oh. Not necessarily on duty but at work. Used to work on cruise ships and crew occasionally get cabin inspections. My GF co-worker and I were doing the deed in the morning when we hear a knock and the phrase "cabin inspection" in an authoritative British accent, which we knew was the ship's captain. I managed to grab all my clothes and run to the restroom. My GF straightened out the room and managed to stall the captain and prevent him from checking the bathroom. She told me that I forgot the used condoms on the floor and she managed to step on them to hide them with her bare feet. I owed her big time. I used to work in fast food, and a manager got caught having sex with an employee. They were going to just transfer him, but they realized that the employee was 17. Manager was 24, so he was fired. The employee quit because they thought it would keep the manager from being fired. I quit a few weeks later for unrelated reasons. Same deal, except the employee was 16, and the manager was 48. Got caught going at it in the toilets at a work party with my co-worker. Luckily whoever it was saved us the embarrassment and just knocked on the door loudly. We straightened up and left, carried on drinking. Toilet was in this tucked away corner so the party couldn't see us leaving and no one was outside when we left. Nothing ever happened of it thankfully. Very fun though. 10/10. Would do again. I worked at Whole Foods. A man and wife worked together and the wife was 6+ months pregnant. One day the wife goes out to their shared car during a lunch break and lo and behold, inside their car her husband is just banging away with another WF employee, someone much younger. I've never seen the entire store come together like a family as they did that day in support of the pregnant wife. At first I thought this was going to be about the married and pregnant couple banging each other at work and I was gonna say well good for them. I worked retail loss prevention. Catching other employees became pretty normal event. Here's the thing. Most retailers put twice as many cameras in employee areas as they do customer areas. If it was between employees they would get a verbal warning, sometimes a written. Managers and employees would cause one to get transferred. Usually the manager. Employees and a non-employee in an employee-only area was either a written or final warning given. I can't think of anything crazy except when I first caught someone other LPs were just met. After a while it became a normal thing. I was a whitewater raft guide 10 years ago. We would party at the area where we stacked our rafts at night at our boathouse. We slept in tents nearby. One thing led to another and my girlfriend at the time and I got it on top of a stack of rafts under the stars quite drunk. The boathouse manager lived in a small apartment with an upstairs window directly adjacent to this stack of rafts. We would be introduced to our tours by him each day with fun little anecdotes. Like, "This is James, best river guide west of the Mississippi." So the next day, after saying nothing to us, he is introducing us and goes, "Okay, now your guide is going to be Chelsea the Screamer," with a pointed look at us. She looked like she saw a ghost, then laughed it off. No further repercussions beyond the call out and a bit of laughs. It was a laid back environment though. Worked for federal government. They got caught in the act in the stairwell. He got lucky his job was permanent, otherwise he would have lost his managerial position. It was made clear to him that he won't be getting promoted out of it for as long as his boss is his boss. So he is stuck. Still nice job at just under 100k a year. She got a slap on the hand and got a permanent position a few months later. Helped that she was a union rep. Honestly the only thing that changed was his weight. He was always built, and after he just gave up, got pretty chubby. Not fat, at least not last I've seen him. Worked at a bank branch a long time ago and one of the financial advisors was pregnant with twins and everyone was super happy for her. Apparently she has been trying for several years with her husband and it finally worked. Fast forward to her last day at work before her maternity leave, we decided to throw her a small goodbye party at the branch employees room after closing hours. The husband was present as well. 15 minutes passed and suddenly the husband decided it was time for a toast and that apparently he made a lovely video for his wife to show her how grateful he was on a USB stick and insisted on showing us the video. So the manager brought him his laptop so we could watch it. The video was a hidden cam I guess in their bedroom of the advisor having sex with another guy with sound and everything. We were all so shocked the video played for a good minute until the manager closed his laptop and basically sent everyone home. The advisor was crying her life out. The husband had this evil smile on his face, took his USB stick out of the laptop and said see you in court and left. Sorry for my bad English. Why is it always people that speak basically flawless English that apologize for bad English? I was an engineer at a company. A couple were fired for having sex in his car in the parking lot. Our company was one of the biggest CCTV manufacturers in the world. I designed camera control systems. Our parking lot was also used to test product and had one of the highest camera per square foot ratio of any parking lot anywhere. Our cameras had amazing zoom capabilities. This just never occurred to these two brainiacs. Management insisted that we delete all footage. Enhance. Wife is a teacher. I visited her classroom after hours and we banged in the actual broom closet like something off a crappy sitcom. Of course someone did walk in, said, "Ops," and left and I almost lost my crap and erection. But wife was like, relax. Half the staff are fricking each other and I've caught a few in here myself before. It was difficult to finish. I guess we'll come back later when you're done. Take a number. Circa 2002. We hired a new guy and as he was relocating from across country he asked for a job for his wife and we accommodated. They ran the customer facing aspect of our shop, which included a storefront that was only open a few hours a week. Because there was a cash box in that room it was very secure. The owner's son had a reputation of raiding it whenever he needed a fix, so new doors, new locks, two-way mirrors, etc. Routinely we would call into the room to get things from them and the phone would go unanswered. They assured us they were up to nothing but we heard noises a few times so I played a hunch. I was IT and one day coming out of the server room past them in the hall and she asked what I was doing in there and I fabricated a security system that no one bothered checking. I explained I was in charge of the tapes and updates. That due to robbery and theft, we had hidden camera in every room, including their office. I hadn't looked at it in months and was restoring the system to look at some stuff from the past weeks. Fast forward about 20 minutes. They are tearing the room apart looking for a camera. You can hear her sobbing through the door, shocked at what I have on tape. They got a warning. I pointed into a vent as a heads up for the camera and warned it got the whole room. We eventually fired them both. Good to know a married couple still had the magic left. Sort of work but more like university work. We worked as lab assistants, TA kind role, and after we finished grading assignments in the classroom section of the lab every Wednesday night her and I would have sex on one of the desks. There were 10 desks and 10 weeks left in the semester so we thought we would take advantage of the privacy and give us an excuse to grade quizzes, tests, work sets as fast as possible and have sex on a different desk every week. The last week we were fricking on the last desk. The professor shows up with food thanking us for being so much more dedicated than all her other assistants in all her years teaching. She see us with the chick sitting on the desk with her legs spread wide and me facing her thrusting standing up. Prof. says well this explains a lot. Don't get pregnant. She left the food and left, locking the door on the way out. We finished, ate the food, and had sex again. Best professor ever? Not even a question. Oh my god, I love how the teacher was such a good sport about it. Not me, but I worked for large insurance company briefly and our married communications rep was caught having sex with an 23-year-old intern by our boss on my desk. Neither one got fired. In fact, the rep left his wife, got promoted a few years later and married the intern. It's funny that people get canned for real trivial crap, but things like being balls deep into an intern, committing adultery and doing it on someone's desk in the office is totally cool. Playing Candy Crush on your phone unexcusable, but pounding out an intern on my desk when married day okay. Worked at a restaurant. Seemed like everyone but me was freaking in the cooler. People were frequently caught but nobody really got in trouble. Few years later, worked in a call center for a financial company. We had a big meeting room on the top floor of the building we'd use every month or so for bigger meetings. A couple people I didn't really care for had sex up there, got caught and fired. There was security camera footage and management had to watch it from what I heard. Needed to identify who the people were for security, and I just remember it being very awkward for everyone involved. Like, at least do it someplace discreet FFS. Alright, if we call your name, step forward, you will not be fired. Key 1. The rest of you start packing your things. Someone I don't know got caught, but now every new group of trainees get special instructions. Sex at work is allowed, but we have to clock out first. That's it. I find it so funny that they are like, yeah, whatever, frick if you want, but I won't pay you for it. College job in an office. Janitor walked in on me and another intern furiously banging it out with zero remorse in an empty conference room. Only repercussion is that now I get to marry her in a month. Kinda weird that the janitor forced you to marry her. Caught a coworker jacking it and watching P-Hub on his phone in the delivery van he drives. His window was half down so he didn't see me approaching. I backed away and then started slowly coming up to him while being loud from a distance to give him time to put himself back together before I had to go up and talk to him. Did not mention what I saw, but he still had P-Hub open on the phone attached to his dash. I will never sneak up on the guy when he's sitting in his van again. I used to work for TELUS Mobility in Canada in one of the call centers, and people would get caught fricking like once or twice a year. The call center was mostly people in their 20s and early 30s. Long hours and crappy employee morale. So sometimes it felt like people were just fricking to pass the time. It was a union job, so it was generally hard to lose your job. You really had to frick up hard to actually get fired. And even then the union would fight to get your job back. So usually when it happened, the punishments were a write-up and or suspension and getting moved to a different team if needed. These are a couple times that stick out in my mind. The first one was the time that a couple got caught in the nurse's room. Essentially it was a quiet room built off of the company lunchroom where if you weren't feeling well you could go and lay down on the bed that was in there. I assume that people were fricking in there a lot, but after the one couple got caught it was renovated, I think, into an arcade room. The second time was a buddy of mine, who was a call center rep who was given a developmental opportunity with the management training team. He was the on-call manager one night and he was caught in one of the conference rooms, on a completely different floor, with his girlfriend. Now they weren't actually caught fricking. As far as I know, he had given an excuse of his girlfriend needed to use one of the scanner printers, or something like that. Everyone universally assumed that they had been fricking though. He was removed from the management training and was put back on the phones. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.